Hello!
I'm Rick.
And I'm Heather.
And this is another YouTube collaboration video with all the other YouTubers scrolling above our heads here. There'll be a playlist at the end of this video which you can click on and watch everybody else's take on this video. And this video is entitled Heather Reading Off a Script.
Helpful advice for newcomers to caravanning, campervanning and motorhoming, or something like that.
Right, so this video was chosen by Andrew and Karen's Adventures, and as campervan owners we're going to concentrate on tips for campervanners really. So some of these tips will be based upon you having just bought a van, and some of them will be based upon you looking to buy a van. So one of the things you need to do is research what you're actually going to use your van for. With a campervan it can be used as your only vehicle. However, if you choose a van like ours, we've only got 2 seat belts in our van, so we couldn't carry any passengers. There are plenty of vans around the 6-metre size like ours that come with 4 seat belts, but just because they've got 4 seat belts doesn't necessarily mean that they can sleep 4 people.
Another thing to consider is that you have continental vans and UK vans. And what I mean by this is that your habitation door will be on the driver's side on a continental van and the passenger side for a UK based vehicle. So what you need to really think about is that you could be stepping out onto the road if you bought a continental van. The other thing is loading and unloading. When we had Lola, she was a continental van. Now we've got Pearl, she's a UK van. So it's made it a lot easier for us to actually load her on our drive. Also, when you go to a campsite, very often they want all of the habitation doors on the same side. And that means that you might have to drive into a pitch as opposed to being able to reverse into a pitch. And there may not be room for an awning or something like that. Another thing to consider is, do you want an oven? A lot of continental vans do not have an oven. If you're happy to cook outside, that's fine. So then you've got to have storage room for your barbecue.
So one thing you might want to consider is whether you want to hire a van before actually buying one. This is a good option for you to see if you can actually get on with living in a camper van, if you like. They can be very restrictive. Although the brochure may show you a nice sunny day with kids playing outside, football, etc, etc, you think of that when it's pouring down with rain and you've got a wet dog and kids moaning, I'm bored, I'm bored. They can get very claustrophobic inside when you shut up all day. What you've got to imagine is a camper van is in fact a big metal tent. It's not like a motorhome or a caravan where you've got a lot more space. You are really tight for space sometimes. So plan your layout, watch some YouTube videos, even channels like us do a few reviews. And yeah, go to dealers, have a good look round. Don't just see a van and think that's the one for me. We've been doing this for years and we still haven't found that elusive right van.
Another thing to consider is where you're going to keep your van. If you can't store it on your drive, then it's got to go into a storage area. That can become expensive. And also can become a bind if you've got to put everything into your car, then take it to the storage area and swap it over. And ultimately, if you're just not that into it, you can end up getting fed up with that.
Yeah, it could put you off.
It could put you off. Parking. Consider where you can park your vehicle. Some vans will actually fit into a normal parking space. Some car parks have height barriers, so you're not going to get in there anyway. So really consider that. The other thing is, when you're parked up on your campsite, do some research before you go. If you don't want to have to move your van to go somewhere, check to see whether there's places to walk which are safe to walk, a cycle path, or a bus route just outside which takes you into the centre of the vehicle, into the centre of the town.
One thing to consider with a camper van is your storage and your payload. Although you can probably carry a fair decent amount of weight in a camper van, you haven't got the space to carry it. You want to buy all these nice new flashy things, which is great. Air awnings look brilliant, outside cooking facilities look brilliant. Where are you going to store them? You've got this lovely big nice air awning. Imagine you're packing it up on a wet day. You've got to get that into your van, and whereas when you loaded your van, you put it in the middle aisle, it was nice and dry. Imagine where you're going to put it when it's soaking wet. It's a big issue to think about. We try and carry as little amount as possible. Less is more for us is the tip with a camper van.
Van ready. And what I mean by that is that all of the normal things that you take with you that are going to be stored in there all the time, leave them stored in there. And then on a Friday night, oh look at the weather, let's pack a bag, put some food in and off we go. Makes for an enjoyable weekend.
A bit like filming this. Hints of sarcasm there. Another tip to consider is resisting the urge for fancy upgrades that you don't need. Example at the minute, everybody seems to be into fitting lithium batteries. Great idea if you're a heavy power usage person, but think about it, with most camper vans, the facilities for storing your grey waste and your black waste and also carrying fresh water means you can only really do 2 or 3 days maximum before you need to visit a site. We've certainly found that all we ever do is do 2 days off grid, go to a site and top up the batteries anyway, and then we're good for another 2 or 3 days.
Another thing to consider is joining a club. We're in the Camping and Caravanning Club and they do DA meetings. That's a really cheap way of camping. We did a vlog recently on how to find out about those DA meetings, so please take a look at that. Another great tip is if you need to fill up with water, fill up in the evening and empty that toilet cassette before you go to bed. There's nothing worse than that dreaded red light coming on in the middle of the night. Another tip, routine. Who does what things? So in the morning Rick takes the dog out and I put the bed away. In an evening, last thing at night, he takes the dog out, I get the beds ready for us to go to sleep. And also, on that matter, if you know you're going to go out and you're going to be out late,
on the razzle.
On the razzle, make the beds up beforehand so it's all ready for you to slip into your overlay when you get home.
Nothing worse than coming home and going, oh no, we ain't made the beds up. And another quick tip, get your stuff laid out ready for the morning, because when you're hungover and the dog wants to go out and you're trying to find your pants, it's not good. So that draws this video to a conclusion. Thankfully, we've had a nightmare filming this, we're not going to lie. We tried a different format which was snappy, less waffling. We even scripted a bit of it. You might have been able to tell by some...
But we are waffly type of people.
We are, so. Yeah. So this may be a one-off idea. We may go back to the waffling. Anyway, if you've made it to the end, we thank you.
Well done.
Yeah. Please do like and subscribe if you do like our videos. We'd appreciate that. It is free. And as we say, this is part of a collaboration. We will now add a card that you can click on and watch everybody else's video. There may be some outtakes coming up. This is literally, we ain't kidding you, this has took us an hour to film this and we got told 8 minutes maximum on these collaborations. It's a nightmare. The things we do.
You're waffling.
I know. See you on the next one.
Bye.
All right. So this video was chosen by Andrew and Caravan's Adventures.
So some of these tips are based on the fact that you're thinking of buying your first van. So some of these tips, come here. So some of these tips are based on. Some of these tips are based upon. What?
How fast are you talking?
Some of these tips are based upon the fact that you're probably going to be...
You're not going to make me laugh. Some of these tips are based upon... At least there'll be some outtakes.